All right, all right, all right, you loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Agency Intelligence, where I give you that real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they make you believe out there. This is Cass, and I'm back with our guy here. I know you guys, some of you are like, who the hell is this cat? It's Patrick Murakami. But the thing is, he's low key. That's how he is. You know what he's doing? He's low key because he's back there building. That's right, building an agency, building a wonderful family, which I got to meet them at Indie Tech. He blew away the stage there. He's a forward thinking agent. And not only that, he wrote himself a little, I guess you could say a book, right? Something like that. Uh, and it was really good. I actually read it because I'm a reader and I love doing that. Remember, leaders are readers, but also leaders write books as well. Patrick, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you. The people who are listening are people who want to hear some people like yourself. Hey, give us a little download though. Tell us a little bit about you and your agency, what it looks like, so they got a visual so that they can relate.
Yeah. So the short version of me is I always tell people I went from unpurposed to unfinished. Multiple suicide attempts, overcoming major depression, to now basically having an agency. We built the agency strictly through social media.
Wow.
So before, we were doing Skype meetings. So when I say social media, I mean, it was literally
Skype.
everything was virtual. Yeah.
Skype. I forgot about Skype. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, back then, everyone had a brick and mortar. We had Facebook. And so we've literally built about 90% of our business through Facebook. It's still responsible for about 60 to 70% of our leads.
Wow.
But I did not have a Facebook or a Google My Business page or website for the first 2.5 years of my business. And so, with the running joke in the agency is like, man, we never had all the tools or the traditional tools, but what happens if we do? And so now we're kind of in that phase of, building out a website, building out AI searchability. Was never on my radar to run a business. I actually came through the call centers for insurance. So I
Oh, wow.
spent the first almost decade of my insurance career working with Progressive. I actually introduced things like voice over IP, mobile scheduling for them, and then end up taking a small stint to finances, and then end up at USAA. Spent about 3.5 years there before deciding to go and start my own agency.
So you in your mid 30s right now?
Early 40s,
Early
actually.
40. Dude,
Yeah.
you're people tell me all the time I look younger than I do. You actually do as well. So,
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
seriously, I'm not bullshitting you when I thought that you were in your late 20s, early 30s. So then as
Mm.
you started adding 10 and 30, 3 years and all that, I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm way off there. So yeah. Well, that's really cool, man. I had no idea that you used to work at Progressive, let alone be there for 10 years. That's
Yeah.
freaking awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, a tech. You said that you introduced VoIP to them. Did I hear that right? So, I mean,
Yes.
Progressive wasn't using VoIP, and then it was because of you, or what?
Yeah. So they had this project. It was called the Edison Project, and it was really for all their internal IT and claims guys. But I was the first frontliner to actually not only submit an idea, but actually go and do a presentation to corporate. And uh, basically, we were using AT&T for all the international calling, and so I had introduced the idea for voice over IP. I think this was around the time that there was a company called Magic Jack that was around,
Oh,
and
wow.
so you
Yeah.
used to plug that in to be able to do international calls.
Wow.
Um,
Magic
but
Jack.
but there's it was the internet that was starting to come out, and we had IBM internally for email and for Messenger. So I thought, if we can do this within that for the internet, why can't we have something with the phone calls? So yeah, I ended up putting a presentation together, and I think I had like 9 or 10 ideas on there, and like 7 or 8 of those within the next 3 years got implemented. And
Wow.
I didn't see any sort of credit for that whatsoever. But the guy who was in charge of all of that kept messaging me and would basically fly me out, or when he would come out, would basically take me out to lunch. And it was weird because I was the only frontliner who had ever submitted anything that actually was worth anything on the front line.
Wow.
But we'd have people driving from like 45 minutes away to come in to try and request time off for work. And of course, like you could never get approved. So they would just drive 45 minutes for nothing. And I was like, why can't we access this outside of that? And so it was just kind of like being able to access, little things that were for the people. And I think, again, because the project started out for mostly IT and claims, they never thought, why not we open this up? And I just happened to basically be going through our online news bulletin and saw it and decided to start submitting ideas.
Wow. What was your reason? What was the reason why you said, "Hey, I'm leaving corporate and I'm going to plant a flag out here in the independent world"?
So I had this one specific phone call. I was in the sales division at this time for USAA, and I was on the phone with the client. The lights go off at 8 o'clock. I was there till 10 o'clock on this one particular phone call, and this lady basically poured out her whole life story to me. Her and her husband basically spent all of their savings basically for their son, who they believed to be falsely incarcerated, and they were paying all of these legal bills. And I think if we could have saved her $1, she would have moved over. But at the end of the day, she's just like, "Look, I know I spent all of your day. I apologize." And I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to basically hear you out and give you opportunity." And she was like, I was like, "But I wouldn't be doing my job by description if I didn't ask you, for us to go ahead and move forward and close the deal." And she was like, "I just can't." She's like, "At least not today." She goes, "But can I call you tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, unfortunately, after today's phone call, unless you call and happen to get me again, we're probably not going to speak." I was like, "You just have to trust that the next person is going to do as good of a job as me." And I knew that wasn't going to happen. I just spent 8 hours on the phone with this lady, right?
Wow.
But it was in that moment that I walked away and I realized, you know what? She's just a number to the company. If she calls back, that next person's job is just to turn around and say, "Hey, we see you got the quotes. Are you ready to move forward?" I wanted to be able to call back and say, "Hey, how is everything going?" I wanted to check in 6 months later. I wanted to send her money to say, "Hey, can I offer help?" But I was never going to have that opportunity in the corporate world.
Mm.
So I
And that's when
left
you thought, "Hey, I could do this out and I could be the person that calls her back." And
100%.
yeah, wow. Wow. Wow, that's pretty good. You have your own podcast?
I've had several. So we had one that we're kind of trying to figure out if we were going to keep running with it. But I've had a couple. So total, including today's episode with you, this is my 324th episode
Got
between hosting and guesting.
Gotcha. Okay, fantastic. You had one that was called, Uncomfortable Innovation. You remember that one?
I think I was just a guest on that one. Yeah.
Okay. What innovation right now are you doing right now that makes you feel uncomfortable?
Oh gosh, I think the innovation of basically trying to teach clientele to get comfortable with AI. And I know that there's so much pushback.
Mhm.
You either have people that love it or the people that are just completely resistant.
Yeah.
Feels like that there's a small amount of people where they're dabbling, but it's usually just one side or the other. It seems like, at least in conversation. So trying to introduce clients to access our custom GPT that which we've made for them, to be able to turn around and say, "Hey, I don't work 24/7, but if you want general questions, if you want resources, here's our app," and trying to get them to utilize it. It's hard because a lot of our clients, they're not on AI, they're not on Chat GPT. So to turn around and make that stance to say, "Hey, we are going to integrate technology. You don't have to use it, but for those that do, are going to have better access and more information at their fingertips."
I'm at Hawksoft 2 weeks ago, there with Virtual Intelligence. We have a booth there. I'm having breakfast on the first day. I'm at one of those round tables where there's 10 people sitting at the table, and we're having our breakfast, and I'm start talking, somebody mentioned something, I said, "Yeah," I said, "That sounds like something you could use Claude for," and da 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 da, and we start talking, and about 5, 10 minutes later, we're talking and it's talking about Claude and all this. Probably sitting there around 20 minutes in, this lady says to me, she says, "Jason, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "What's Claude?"
Mm.
and I said, "Oh, sorry that it's Anthropic." You know, that's their model of what they call. And she was like, who's Anthropic?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Hey, I apologize. Everybody, I've been talking about Claude and stuff. Do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about?" There was one person that
Mm.
knew what I was talking about, but had never used it.
Yeah.
That afternoon at lunch, we're sitting down, the table's not completely full, but I said to everybody, I said, "Hey, everybody, if I'm talking to you about something and I mention that I use Claude at work and my team does, do you have any idea what that is?" Not one person. Not one
Oh
person. I said, "Do you guys know what Anthropic is? Have you heard that?" And one person said, "Yeah, I think I heard something on the news about them in the United States government or something."
man.
And I was like, "Wow." Next morning at breakfast, I did the same thing. That time I had like 2 or 3. Again at lunch, didn't have anybody.
Mm.
These are agents, bro.
Yeah.
These are agency owners. I probably sat with at least 40 to 50 different ones, and literally less than 5 had even had didn't even know who Anthropic was or Claude or any of this.
It's crazy.
Blew my mind, made me realize how far ahead that I am and you are and a lot of agents are. And I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to say probably 5 to 10% of agents out there.
Sure.
Let's go to that. Obviously, you know who they are. What's your platform of choice, Patrick?
Yeah, I've been using Claude a lot. You know,
Mhm.
um, I think a lot of us are holding on to ChatGPT, and it's crazy to say this because it's only been such a short amount of time. But I feel like for the nostalgia factor, it
Yeah.
has the memory and understands us and the conversations. But I really think that Claude and Manus now has been off the charts,
Yep.
and even Grok's upgrade has been really crazy with just the image creation, but also like the developmental side of things. And then I've been really working a lot with a new app called Obsidian, which basically is kind of like creating a second brain and then really being able to link all of the different ideas. And it creates like a physical map of nodes. So you could click onto any of those nodes and add different
Wow. What's the name of that one?
ideas. Obsidian.
Obsidian. Wow, that's a cool
Yeah.
one. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah,
Um,
and so basically, any thought process now, I basically am just creating it into a note for Obsidian and just uploading it, so that way it really is all my thoughts, all my processes, and categorizing. So that way, at some point, if I get lost or if I have some ideas or can draw back on, where I was at, like as of right now, April 2026 versus maybe January of 2026, right? So I can kind of literally track the different conversations that I'm having now as well.
Outside of that, how else are you utilizing AI in your agency?
So we're basically developing internal things, so landing pages for every single category now. Like I said, for somebody that never had a website for a couple of years, now we're really going full throttle. Building out AI search, AEO, GEO, focusing heavily on
Would you talk
uh,
about what those are, AEO and AGO? What is that?
yeah. So it's basically just your search engine for AI to be able to be searchable. And a lot of companies for a long time were kind of guessing really of how does AI bring it up. And for the longest time it was, well, if your SEO is really good, then that's where it's going to pick up and start finding you. And that's really kind of the first line of defense, right? You have to have good SEO, which again, having somebody who's in the thick of it trying to figure out all these things that really should be kind of must haves. But now they're also looking at your citations, they're looking at your FAQs, they're looking at the questions that you put on Google and how quickly and how clear are those questions and answers. So that way AI can turn around, just like you and I are having a conversation now, find those. And then also, of course, the backlinks, like how reputable are you in terms of what you say? And so when all of those things align, AI says, "Oh yeah, this is searchable. It's clear. It's easy for me to go ahead and recommend this person, especially because they're active." Versus somebody who used to maybe pay just to have a good platform, pay for some blogs, and so we're in a weird spot because traditional marketing, there's still a huge need, but when it comes to the AI searchability, it's really hard because now they have to almost undo a lot of the things that they've been taught. So SEO has to change. Their blogging definitely has to change because you can no longer keyword stuff.
Mhm.
So before you could, find 30 keywords, plug it in like 60 times in there, and then kind of outrank your competition. But again, if we're looking for natural, organic language, that keyword stuffing no longer applies. So it's almost like you have to go and pick and choose which blogs you want to keyword stuff, which ones you want to have for AI and SEO. And just now we're starting to see companies start to really understand what is it that AI is looking for.
That's really good. And when Marcus Sheridan was at BrainShare, he just absolutely tore this up on all the things that you need. And if any of you listeners are interested in that, I've got it's on YouTube. It's under an unlisted link. I'd love to share that. Um, he said the same thing about some of the things that you've always been taught in SEO and reversing those. For instance, he said that where it was important to get people to link to you, still is, but it's also important that you're linking to others as other
Yes.
sources, right? That's like completely opposite of what everybody used to do. And
Mhm.
he laid out like a bunch of things that, hey, we used to do this. He would say, don't quit doing that yet, but this is how it's going to be in the future based on how it works. He calls it signals,
Yes.
is what he calls it. The things that it's looking for out there. Anything to add to that, Patrick?
Yeah, definitely. I still think that one of the hidden gems for a lot of websites is basically a backlink, right? And for a long time, the BBB has been a secret backlink that a lot of people don't realize is super important. And it's not so much because you think you're going to go to mediation, but it's because they're linked to X amount of businesses in your local area.
Mhm.
So when you pay $500 for that, you're not necessarily buying for the mediation. You're buying to have that access on their website. And so if you can create your own backlinks, so I'll give you one that we've been working on with a lot of businesses, and for us personally, is we're creating AI directories on our website that are searchable for our partners. And we're basically just turning them and saying, here, copy and paste this onto your website, create this directory. We'll provide the vetted business that can go on there, and then turn around and write a blog about this.
Mm.
And then now we're linking to all of these different websites, but we're giving them the format for the blogs that basically are AI searchable, but it also links directly back to our website. So now we're improving not only their process, but selfishly, we're now linked to, at this current time, let's say 75 different businesses that have all been around for 5+ years. So that's just improving our process. So even if I don't, am not consistent with the blogs or the content, through their searchability, now I'm also improving my rankings.
Mm. Mm. And you said you're using AI to build out like landing pages and stuff like that. So did
Yeah.
you so did you already have a website built and then you're using it to build other pages on your website, or are these separate landing pages?
So I didn't have a website for the first couple of years, and then it's kind of been dormant. I just had one, just essentially just to have one. Within the last 120 days specifically, we're now going after major markets. So we're improving and we're creating both individual landing pages just for those markets. We're creating them internally, and then now we're going to get ready to launch third-party search pages, basically that are just taking over certain categories. So let's say real estate. We're going to generate all of the blogs with keywords from the top realtors and real estate and create a third party. And then we can basically use that as an internal search engine. So when people go to search for that, or if they click on that wanting information, it's not tethered to any one company, but we can go through and say, okay, this is somebody that we'd want to work with. Yes, let's go ahead and send an email out or make an introduction. But the idea is that they think it's third party.
And so how are you getting people to that landing page? Through ads or
So
what?
well, that's going to be a new strategy for us. We've never run ads before, so I've only spent $260 in 8 years to build out our agency, which is just shy of 5 million now.
Wow.
And it's literally just been through Facebook, social media, and a lot of it was just basically word of mouth, telling people, and then just going back to extract those leads for trust. Hey, thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to serve you. Do you know anybody else that's willing to do that? But now we're hard target marketing and within certain groups. We have VAs deploying links when people ask. We have people responding. We're also building out our internal networks for referrals. So right now, we're working on a campaign for PCS and military specialists, so
Mhm.
realtors, real estate lenders, other insurance agents all over the nation. And so we're building out databases that basically say, hey, we'd love to get you a part of this. And so now you have an instant network of other people that you can refer to, get your referral fee. But here's all the pieces that we've gone through to make sure that they're vetted, that we would trust them, and really doing it's a high level one on one, but it's 30,000 foot view. And then as people get more plugged in, we ask for the feedback, decide if we want to keep them or not. But a lot of it is really just plugging in to say, hey, use this search engine, plug into our network. Here's the free trainings, all these different things. So that way people turn around and are willing to share that to their network, use it, or build it for them, or we just basically build a version of that for them in conjunction with ours.
It's almost like, maybe I'm simplifying it. It's almost like new age referral partner marketing in a way, kind of,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know?
because that trustability is still the most important aspect. And
Mhm.
so instead of having to build all that yourself, and how long would it take for me to build a video library on YouTube and run a podcast with, right? Instead, why not just go to the people that already have my ideal clients, give back to them, and in return, we know that we'll get those opportunities.
I love that. I love that. And something with the military, that's a big part of your business, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I'm in Colorado Springs, so we've got
Mm.
probably going to be formerly Space Force, the Air Force Academy. We've got NORAD, Fort Carson. So we've got all of that right here, and a lot of our clients who come in and PCS, and then they're like, "Hey, can you still be my agent?" And right now, it's only in 3 states, but the goal, and before the end of this year, we definitely want to be in. The goal is, I think, 25 states.
Now, obviously, not everybody can do what you do, when it comes to this marketing and AEO and all that stuff like that. But agents today are wanting to figure out like where they should start with AI. If you're
Mm.
talking about somebody who's, they've had Claude or ChatGPT for a year, they use it for, maybe to do things around the house or ask it questions, but they're wanting to take it a step further. Patrick, if you got asked that question, what would be that answer to them?
Well, yeah. So most of the problems when I talk to agents is that they don't have an SOP, or they don't have a library of all that. I would start there. I would create a gem or a custom GPT for specifically for your agency. And I would start basically talking, here's the systems that we use, here's the platforms that we use, and then help me build out an SOP for how to run a quote. Help me build an SOP of how to market. Help me build an SOP of how to cross sell. And basically start creating the library of how you want things to be done. So that way, when you bring on that new hire, or you bring on somebody that's going to, fill some of those roles, they know exactly how to run your agency in your way,
Mhm.
right? So that's where I would start. You find a problem that you can identify and start looking for a solution. And SOP is something that we all need, and not enough people have them. But what you're also doing by not having that is you're devaluing all the things that you've built. And so, if you want to have an exit strategy, which most people aren't thinking about until it's too late, but let's say an agent came to you and was like, "Hey, I want to sell you my agency." Well, most people are 3 to 5 years out from developing all the things that they need to really be sellable.
True.
And so, if you were like, "Yeah, I'll buy that for you for like 1x," and they're like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "Well, you don't have anything. I have to come in. I've got to update SOPs. I got to make sure that the systems are working. I got to make sure that this is turnkey," and it's not. When they say, "Well, how much is it going to cost?" Now they got to go find somebody to help them do all this stuff, and it's going to cost more. But when you make that decision to sell and that you're ready to get out. You don't want to stick around for 5 more years.
Mhm.
And so now you're limiting your value versus somebody who comes in and says, "Hey, I have everything." And you turn around and say, "Oh, I didn't know that that's something. Maybe I should add that to my system." You're like, "Okay, this is definitely worth two, three, four, 5x because you're learning, and you know that it's going to improve what you have, or you know that you're going to get that money back really quickly." But when you don't have these things, your SOPs, you don't have a valuation, you don't know where you say, you don't know, how the agency would continue if you left, if you are the tangible product of that, you're limiting yourself, and you're basically making it harder and harder to exit.
Really, truly are. Well said on that. Well said on that. What does our industry look like in 24 months?
Man, I personally believe that a lot of these insurance companies are testing Claude on their own, even though they don't allow us to utilize it.
Hmm.
I believe internally they're testing, and so they want to figure out how to use tech. And before, our industry used to be really really reactive, right? We know the claims process is very reactive, the rates are very reactive, but um, Garrett Droege at Indie Tech had something that was really really cool, talking about the quantum agent
Hmm.
and the blockchain technology. And it got me thinking, because he had talked about exchanging data, maybe two code authenticator or whatever, and being able to be able to share access to all that stuff really quickly. But I think that we're actually going to get to the point where we kind of see insurance companies where they turn around and look for that, and they say, there's our ideal client, here's our offer.
Uh-huh.
And so the agent now is going to be responsible for collecting, maintaining that information, but you're going to have to be ahead of the game.
Hmm.
Because if you're reactive to shopping, if it's only like, well, we only shop a quarter of the time, or really if it's a certain threshold, which again, I don't think is anything wrong, especially if the rates are going okay. But if you still have zero communication, it's going to be really hard, because somebody's going to turn around and be like, well, my buddy at Farmers got us a quote elsewhere, so it's worth at least me exploring, right? But if you have the data ahead of time that says, hey, we're finding that companies really like your profile and your stuff, especially because you haven't had any claims, and you can explain why the rate is what it is, or why people like it, or why somebody wants you. It's going to make somebody feel really good to turn around and say, I have insurance companies who are shopping for me, who are looking for my profile, right?
Right.
And that's going to be the difference for now your new VIP clients versus somebody who just coming in and says, oh, I have a non-standard that I need to get. That desirable position companies are going to start headhunting for, I believe.
Interesting. 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 I like that. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, I welcome you back also this year to Indie Tech. Boy, I'm telling you what, I don't know if you've seen what we've got lined up, but
Oh man, I'm excited.
dude, it's
Yeah,
unbelievable. You know who Ruben Hassid is? You happen to know? I want you to look him up, Patrick, if you don't know him. You know who he is?
I do not know.
Okay, so he's probably one of the most forethought thought. He's out of Tel Aviv. I actually knew him before, right before Chat GPT 3 or whatever came out in November of 2022, blew the world away. Like, holy crap, you know. Um, he has an open line to them and to Anthropic. He's very, very unbelievable. If you go find him on LinkedIn, he's number 2 as far as most viewed and followed. I
Oh,
mean, he makes a post, he gets 2,000, 3,000, likes or engagement or something, 200 and some odd comments. And he's just so unbelievable out there. And he's going to be there. He's going to do a 3-hour workshop for him. We're flying him in from
that's
Tel
awesome.
Aviv. Yeah, we've got Chris Voss, who is
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
that's going to be awesome, who's the author of Never Split the Difference. Uh, we've got classes going on all day. Hopefully, you're one of those speakers that accepts my invitation. And I appreciate you being a part of it. And for any of you loyal listeners that are listening right now, keep in mind that we on May 5th, it's $99 for one day. May 5th, it's $99 for one day. You're going to want to put that on your calendar because probably by the time this comes out, it's in a couple days. And so for $99, then it goes to $299 after that. And it keeps climbing as the year goes. So $99. I can't state that enough to everybody. Make sure that you do that. Closing up, anything you want to add, Patrick, to anything we've talked about, or maybe something you thought we'd talk about that? Oh, hold on. We've got your little book thing that you made. And I say little because it's not as a long book, but tell us what you created and can people find that out there?
Yeah. So it's called The Human Advantage. And I mean, credit goes to you, Cass. Your book that talked about the agency of the future, and having. I mean, there were metrics in there that, at least at that time, didn't exist, which was really crazy to think about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
But
you.
it really got me thinking. I think I downloaded in July of last year. I looked at it heavily in kind of December, and then again after Indie Tech. And man, I think I sat on probably about 45 days before I started writing. And the idea is, what I'm seeing is that a couple of misconceptions where people just assume if we save them time, that they just think all the things that they're going to have time for are going to get done. And unfortunately, what happens is that they just get more time and they don't know what to do with it, or they're still not doing anything with that.
Mhm.
And so the ability for us is that if we do get that time, and equally important to the tech stack, is that we have to be focusing on really the trust stack, right? And so this really highlights a lot of that. And then I just kind of ran with a scenario of what building an agency looks like now from as of today to 5, 10, 20 years from now. And again, nobody really knows,
Right.
right? Especially with how quickly we're advancing things. But I do know that the depths and layers have to expand. And so most agents are basically looking for kind of like, oh, I got the sale and I'm good for my quota for this week or for this month. But really, for us, we need to go depths and levels to basically say we're not building for just this term. We're building for the next 10 years. We're building for the next 30 years.
Mhm.
And so I go in there and I talk a lot about basically what does that look like to expand into the families, creating and turning that teenage driver into a lifetime client. So yeah, it's only 18 pages. I don't feel like it's a complete book at this point in time, but I felt it was important and relevant to get out right now.
Mhm.
And then I'm happy to link the Google Drive so people can go in and just download that for free.
Please, that would be great. That would be great. Yeah, and I appreciate that. You're that kind of a guy. Let's just ship it. We got
Yeah,
that 18 pages. Let's ship it out there, and if we're going to build on it, let's build on it, right?
yeah,
That's how I was with the manual. I just said, let's ship it. And for everybody out there, if you want to go to agencyintelligencebook.com, that's Agency Intelligence Book. You can get the Future Ready book that just came out. You can get the manual. The manual's free, and you can also get Future Ready book on Audible as well. So the manual, as he was talking about, gives you like what I'm kind of a high level view of here's some things and how I see the agency of 2030 looking. The book Future Ready takes that manual and talks to you as an insurance agent and an owner to say, here's how you implement that. Here's why. The first 3 chapters are about leadership because AI is going to require a different part of a type of leadership. It's really, really going to. The future workforce is not humans, it's agentic AI. And you really have to think about that. I don't think people put that 2 and 2 together, Patrick. Like, that is the future workforce. There's going to be licensed people, virtual employees, and AI agentic. And there might be some bots that are still out there. But that's something that just I remember when I was writing the manual and I was researching, I didn't even really truly understand what agentic was at the time. Like I had to really understand this because I knew it was the future. I remember hearing Elon talking about it and the CEO of DeepMind and all these people and I'm like, what is this? And I had to research it to really wrap my head around it to say, okay, that's where this fits into the agency. This is where this can be good. And what's crazy is we're now starting to see, as you said, carriers who are becoming very like, hey, can't have those in our system, even though we've been doing RPA in their system for freaking ever. And I get
right.
it. They're a little scared. They should be. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Let me get my hands around this first. But I think what we're starting to see, which I didn't see, um, is Vertifor creating their own bots that work inside of AMS 360. Erie creating their own bots that work inside our agentic bots is what I mean, agentic agents working
Yep.
inside of their system. So that makes me realize, okay, so I still as an agent need to have those created, but I need to be able to connect them. They're going to need to be able to talk to those agentic agents to get something done. And that's where Patrick, I imagine as forward thinking as you are, you've probably created some skills inside of Claude, right? I don't know
Yes.
about you, but like I've created 2 or 3. And when I created my first one, I was like, okay, the product that I'm creating next one, which has agentics and gives you context of your agency, my product just became more valuable. It's not
Yes.
easy to create skills, dude.
No,
It
it's not.
it's not, and they make
Yeah.
it like, "Oh, well, you just talk to it," and it's like, "Yeah, you just talk to it, but there's a lot more to that shit." And then
Yes.
And then, as you're saying, most agents don't even have SOPs or workflows or policies and procedures. And that's what a skill is. The skill is
Yes,
putting that all together. And I'm thinking, okay, 20% of agents are going to create their own. The other 80% are going to say, hey, I want that agentic thing, but just where can I buy that in a box? Right. And it's
yeah,
going to be like, here's next one. It learns your agency. The agentic moves through, and it's going to, I think you're going to see in 12 months a lot of software companies that we use today have their own agentic built in, right? And I think
yes,
they're going to start to try to build out. And I think that's going to be an effing nightmare because
I agree.
they're going to have to create an essential skill for every agency. And inside of that agency, everything that they do, the agents that win are going to create that on their own, get the context, teach it their agency, and then connect outwards with those. And I
Yeah,
believe that's what Next One is actually going to bring to people. And if you want to find out more about that, everybody go to nextagency.ai. That's next, Nex agency.ai. You know, Patrick, I had a guy say to me the other day, he said, Jason, he said, with these companies that you create and run, how do you do it? You know, I thought about that a lot. And I said to, because I get that question a lot, and I
mm,
came up with the answer. I have 4 companies, but I only have one job. That's making
mm,
sure that I have the right people running those companies. People just can't wrap their head around the fact that like you can have 220 some employees and you don't have to be in control of what's going on day to day. You know,
yes,
now you want to know what's going on. You want to make sure you have the right people in place to help you what's going on. But that's just one of the problems. And I'm talking to this guy yesterday who's an investor, would be investor in Next One. And he's just like, I just can't do this. I mean, he's got an agency of like 15 people, and he's literally still the main producer there. I'm like,
mm,
bro, like, what are you doing? I mean, like, man, you're working way too hard,
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, but I'm the lead producer here. I said, well, bro, you got to do some delegation and some training, okay? Because
yes,
because
training
if
100%.
you've got 10 other licensed people in there, you got 10 other people that should be doing what you're doing. And it's these people, once again, I'm an insurance agent. I'm not beating them up, but they can't even figure that part out, let alone try to figure out agentic and how the hell it's going to work in their agency. I talked to
Sure.
50 people, and most of them hadn't even heard of Claude. I'll be honest with you, it was blew me away, Patrick. It
I can imagine, yeah.
blew me away. I'm like, holy cow, so anyways, hey, appreciate you coming on, buddy. It's been
Likewise, thank you.
fantastic. Really, really do appreciate it. We need to do this again sometime. Look forward to seeing you at Indie Tech. And
Yeah,
thank you very much, man. Really
I
appreciate it.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Cass.
Yeah. Anybody wants to find anything else more about you? They're looking on LinkedIn. Where are they finding you, Patrick?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook is still my primary, you know,
Yeah.
uh, my primary site, and yeah, happy to connect. Happy to just be a resource.
And Patrick is just like me. We're old, in our 40s, so we still use Facebook as our main thing, even though we try to, my son, there's using Snapchat and all
Mm,
this other stuff. I'm like, I just can't. I just stick with my Facebook and my LinkedIn,
same, same.
So, but yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, appreciate you, and I appreciate all you loyal listeners who have decided to listen to this and have been following me forever. I greatly appreciate it. You know what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass and Patrick Murakami. We are out.